Hi all, welcome to the video walkthrough of your task 2 for sports injuries. As you can see, this one is all about investigating the etiology of sports injuries and their associated prevention strategies. Worth noting the date as a starting point, so it's due in the Thursday after next, which is the 12th of March. If you haven't got that down in your calendar or written down somewhere, please do so. Late submissions means pass only. Okay, so the vocational scenario, you are continuing your work placement at a local physiotherapy clinic, etc, etc. The key thing to pick up from the scenario is that it will be a short presentation. You will be presenting it to myself, I will be recording it, it will go up on Seesaw. So again, just worth noting. The topic you've been assigned to present on is etiology of sports injuries and prevention strategies, funnily enough. Okay, key thing, really, this is the key bits. Alright. So your first thing that you're going to look at is explaining how the different intrinsic and extrinsic risk factors contribute and lead to sports injuries. For the purpose of this particular presentation, because a number of you asked for it, I have put together a presentation kind of template which you can use if you so wish. So I'm going to kind of bounce between the brief and this template and kind of show you how it correlates. Let's just start with, first of all, a couple of important notes. This presentation can take various forms, but should be logical in its format and include headings, subheadings and diagrams where possible. You'll see where the diagrams can come in handy later on, as well as authenticating kind of basically, where you got your information from through referencing. Yes, I will expect to see references. If you want to add those references into the notes section at the bottom here, on your slides, again, Harvard reference or websites, etc., please do so, because then I can get a copy of your slides from you and use that for, checking off, make sure that you've, got your information from viable sources, etc. Okay, second important note, please remove the guidelines from the slides before presenting. All right, make the presentation your own. I want to see some colour, I want to see some vibrancy, creativity. I think I've got to sit down and watch 16 of these presentations if they're all white and black slides and super boring. Yeah, that's going to be hard work for me as well as you. Alright, so please make the presentation your own. Okay, back to the assignment brief quickly, just to remind you. So explain how the different intrinsic and extrinsic risk factors contribute and lead to sports injuries. Nextly, identify the different preventive measures for both of those intrinsic and extrinsic risk factors using examples to emphasize how they would minimize the risk. So if I take you on to slide 4, so as a rough guide, I've asked you to choose 4 to 5 factors for intrinsic and explain, again in bold, command word, how they lead to that injury. Please give specific examples where appropriate. Once you've kind of gone through your 4 or 5 factors and you've explained how they could lead to injury, what I'd like you then to do, please, is give a preventative measure for each of the factors you have mentioned. Right? Explain how and why the preventative measure would work. Don't just tell me what the preventative measure is, please tell me how it would work. How would it kind of stop that injury from happening or stop that injury from getting worse? Similar format or same format really for extrinsic. 4 or 5 factors, explain how they can lead to the injury, give specific examples where appropriate, and then again, preventative measures. How can it, prevent that extrinsic factor from, increasing the risk of injury? Okay, back to the assignment brief. Next section here now is assess how gait analysis can be used to prevent non-traumatic injury. Should include consideration of gait, structural and biomechanical abnormalities in relation to lower limb injuries. Most of you were in for that particular lesson, so we did a lot of the stuff for gait analysis. You did the standing leg assessment, you generated the data for that. We did walking up and down the corridor, jogging up and down the corridor with the lines drawn on the heels so that we could have a look at whether people were kind of pronating or supinating. We then did the wet foot check inside the classroom, whereby we were looking for high arch, low arch, and also looking for inverted or everted kind of toe marks. So that should give us some indicators for that gait analysis. Coming back to the presentation, next section, gait analysis. Start telling me what it is, what does gait analysis allow us to look at in detail, Great chance for you to add a reference in here for definition or websites, etc., where you can find that information from. I want to see the images and the video footage QRs of the gait analysis attached to a couple of slides here. Okay, don't cram everything in onto one slide, please. You know, spread it out, make the presentation look presentable, in simple terms. Gait analysis, data. Okay, so input and overview kind of data table. A lot of you got this done on the day as well, so you should have that. You should be able to just pluck that and pop it onto a slide. And then what I'm going to ask you to do there is discuss what the findings show in terms of risk to injury. Just talk me through it. Talk me through what you found and what are the chances of injury occurring. What specific risk is the individual you're looking at, at in terms of injury? Is there anything particular that you picked up or you found? And then what preventive measures would you recommend, and give me reasons why, please. Last section, last but not least, is examine the sequence of prevention model for sports injuries. So this was the Van Mechelen and the Van Tichelen models that we looked at in class, in particularly the Van Tichelen model. Okay, to get the top grades, so if you're going for distinction, you need to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses and the significance of each stage of that model by justifying its place and importance. So you need to put the model into your slides, okay, and then talk me through why each stage is there. Run an injury through it is a great way to do that, because it shows me you understand the model as well as its various sections. I will prompt you on the day, so if you're not sure of any of the, or you miss a bit because obviously you're presenting, you're in the flow, I will stop, I will ask you questions to try and prompt you to push for higher grades. So I just bounce back to the presentation. Last but not least, sequence of prevention model. Examine the strengths and weaknesses of the model. Use images of the model to support your justifications. I handed these out in class. They're also on Moodle, so you can find a filled-in version of the model and a blank version for you to run an injury of your choice through it. Also, you can find this model online. If you go into Google and type in Van Tichelen et al. Sequence of prevention model, you will find various different images of that which you can use for your slides. And lastly, not least, please run an injury of your choice through the model to demonstrate your in-depth understanding of it. Okay, so just to run through the criteria, so it's 1 pass, 1 merit, 1 distinction. The pass criteria is the extrinsic and intrinsic risk factors and the gait analysis, telling me how they can lead to injury and how they can be prevented. The merit is assessing the gait analysis and its link with injury, considering the preventive measures that you would use for gait analysis, intrinsic and extrinsic, using specific examples. And lastly, not least, the distinction criteria will be linked to the model, so how well you evaluate the sequence of prevention model, justifying the different stages. If you're justifying something, you're selling it to me. So you're telling me why that stage is there, what its importance is, what its significance is. Okay. Any research you do in there to support this model will greatly increase your chance of getting the distinction in that section. There are some source of information to support you with the assignment. I would recommend having a look at these if you get a chance. They're not just there to look pretty on the assignment brief, they're there to help you. So copying those into Google Scholar or having a look at that website might help give you some pointers and help you out. Apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, that is everything you need to know for this particular assignment. If you do have any kind of questions or queries, please email me. My intention is that you will be presenting these on the 12th, so our kind of bookings, time slots, you'll come in and present, and we'll get it boxed off that way. Again, any questions, please email me.